Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Chapter 6, Shadows and Arrows. The campfire flickered, casting long, wavering shadows across the clearing. The faint crackle of the flames melded with the distant rustle of the forest. Aldric sat on a smooth log, his sword resting across his knees. He sharpened the blade with deliberate strokes, though his eyes drifted to the edge of the clearing where a figure moved with quiet precision. She was lean, her movements almost feline. A bow hung across her back, its dark wood polished from use. Her auburn hair was tied in a loose braid that swung as she moved, scanning the forest with the alertness of a hawk. Aldric hadn't seen her before the last battle, but he'd heard whispers. Her name was Bryn, and though some spoke of her in jest, mocking her slight frame, others spoke of her with quiet respect. "Don't stare too hard, Aldric, or she'll think you've got a problem with her," Thane said, dropping onto the log beside him with his usual smirk. "She'd outshoot most of us blindfolded," Thane added, gesturing toward her. "Saved my hide last winter when I stumbled into a trap meant for wolves. Took down 2 raiders with a single arrow before I even had my sword drawn." Aldric didn't reply immediately. His sharpening stone stilled as he watched Bryn crouch near the edge of the forest. Her eyes darted to the treetops, her hand brushing the hilt of a dagger at her hip. She moved as though the forest itself obeyed her will, quiet and unyielding. "It's not that," Aldric murmured finally, his voice thoughtful. "It's just different." Thane leaned back, his smirk deepening. "Different, eh? You've been around long enough to know that different doesn't mean bad." Aldric's gaze flickered to the fire, the flames stirring old memories. "It's not bad. Just unexpected." The memory struck him with the weight of a sword blow. He was in a courtyard, younger and less burdened by the scars of war. A woman stood across from him, her posture steady, her eyes locked on his. She wore no armor, only a simple tunic and breeches, but she carried herself with a strength that made the knights around her hesitate. "Again," she commanded, her voice firm. Aldric adjusted his stance, sweat dripping from his brow. The training sword felt heavy in his grip as he lunged. The woman sidestepped with ease, her own blade striking the flat of his with a sharp clang. "Strength without control is your downfall," she said. "A wild beast fights with fury. A knight fights with purpose." She was his mentor, Saren Lorne, his elder sister. Her reputation as one of the finest swordswomen in the realm had been well earned. She had trained alongside men twice her size and emerged victorious time and again. "You think honor comes from brute strength?" she had asked him once, her tone laced with disdain. "It comes from discipline, Aldric. From understanding what you fight for." Her words had shaped him, though he had never admitted it aloud. She had been the first to teach him that the battlefield cared little for pride or tradition. What mattered was skill, loyalty, and purpose. Her death had been swift and senseless, a skirmish against raiders who cared nothing for her honor or discipline. Aldric had buried her with his own hands, swearing he would never let such senseless losses define him again. The crackle of the fire pulled him back to the present. Bryn was now speaking to Malrik, her voice low but firm. Whatever she said made Malrik frown, though he nodded begrudgingly before stalking away. "She's got him on a leash," Thane chuckled, nudging Aldric. "Not many can do that." "Not many care to try," Aldric replied, his tone dry. He watched as Bryn approached the fire, her movements confident but unhurried. She stopped a few paces away, her gaze settling on Aldric. "You're Sir Aldric Lorne," she said. It wasn't a question. "I am," he replied, standing and offering a slight bow. "And you must be Bryn." She nodded, her expression unreadable. "You've led the Brotherhood through hell and back. That's not something many can claim." Aldric gestured for her to sit, though she remained standing. "And you've earned your place here," he said. "Thane speaks highly of you." Does he now? Her lips twitched in a faint smile. He's not wrong. I'm good at what I do. Her confidence was unshakable, but there was no arrogance in her tone. Aldric found himself respecting her more with every word. What do you think of the Brotherhood? He asked. She tilted her head, studying him. I think it's a group of men, and women, who've lost much but refuse to give up. You hold us together, but the cracks are showing. Aldric frowned. And you think you can mend those cracks? I think I can help, she said simply. If you'll let me. Later that night, Aldric stood at the edge of the camp, his thoughts heavy. The faint rustle of leaves and the hoot of an owl punctuated the stillness. Malrik approached, his steps crunching against the frosted grass. She's trouble, Malrik said without preamble. Bryn? Aldric raised an eyebrow. She's skilled. She's a distraction, Malrik countered. We can't afford distractions. Every decision should be about survival, not honor. And yet, honor is what binds us, Aldric said, his voice steady. Without it, we're no better than the raiders we fight. Malrik scoffed. You think honor will keep us alive when the next battle comes? You think Bryn will stand when the arrows start flying? She's already proven herself, Aldric replied. And if you can't see that, then perhaps it's you who's distracted. Malrik's glare was sharp, but he said nothing more. He turned and walked away, leaving Aldric alone with his thoughts. As the camp settled into uneasy silence, Aldric found himself watching Bryn once more. She was sharpening her arrows, her expression calm but focused. For the first time in a long while, Aldric felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps the Brotherhood's survival didn't rest on strength alone. Perhaps it rested on the bonds they forged, however unlikely they seemed. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button.